and welcome to our final session of Day 2 in the Education USA Virtual Week. Education USA is your official source on US higher education information. Now we will be hearing about arts programs in the US. My name is Sarah, and I'm the Education USA Coordinator based in Sydney, Australia. I have the pleasure of kicking off this session. First, if you're tuning in live, we encourage you to post your questions on our Slido page by going to www.sli.do and then entering the session code you see at the bottom of your screen. I'd now like to introduce our two presenters who are US admissions experts, Jackson Moore, Associate Director of International Admissions at the School of the Art Institute, Chicago, and Junan Liao, the Assistant Director of International Outreach at American Musical and Dramatic Academy. Okay, over to you, Jackson.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And thank you for everyone who is joining us today. If you would like to go on to the next slide, and I will proceed with my presentation regarding careers in the arts specifically. So I am the Associate Director of International Admissions at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. We are one of many art and design schools in the United States. Each one of us, we're a little bit different. So it's important to do your research on what kind of school you want to go to, what kind of school you want to attend. SAIC, we are a completely interdisciplinary school, which means you can work across any department that you see fit. So you could focus solely in painting and drawing, but we would be interested if you would, would want to also work in film, video, new media, and animation, or if you wanted to also work in performance. How would that impact what you're doing in your painting, practice? But in this presentation, I want you to really think about what kind of career options there are for artists. So if we'll go to the next slide, we'll start with, a lot of people don't think that there are options for artists and designers to make a career out of it. And there are a lot of options, actually. In fact, 28 million people are currently working in an art and design field in the United States. And that's just in the US. So think about the entire world. We look at, how many people, how many corporations are hiring right now. And I know it is a little bit stagnant right now because of COVID, but we asked corporations and companies what they were looking for in new hires. And repeatedly, they said creativity and innovation. Our world is changing very, very fast. And we want our students to be able to work with the changes in technology and also to, be able to adapt to how quickly our world changes. With COVID happening, our world changed overnight. And, with the people that were able to be, go with the flow, I guess, they're the ones that are succeeding. And our interdisciplinary curriculum that we have at SAIC is really what we're wanting our students to walk away with, this ability to be innovative and creative. 95% of our recent graduates were either employed in an art field or attending grad school within 6 months of graduation. And one thing I really want you to think about is, what is going to sustain you as a career your entire life. I was never going to be an accountant. That was just not in the cards for me. I wasn't going to be an actuary. It was always something to do with art and design, and or otherwise I would have been miserable. So really think about what it is that you want to do for your life. You'll be living until you're like 120, hopefully. So really think about that. So next slide. So this is the front wall of our CapEx Center or Career and Professional Experience Department. Whatever school you end up going to, make sure that you go to their careers office within your first week on campus. They're the ones that will be helping you find jobs on campus as well as jobs after you graduate. Our CapEx department, they host information sessions about how to be a working artist, how to find those jobs. They also bring in a lot of industry insiders that you can have one-on-one interactions with to help get your foot in the door. So on the wall of our CapEx program is 136 different job titles that SAIC alumni currently hold. And I mean, it ranges from, arts educator, graphic designer, fashion designer. Those are some pretty obvious ones. But then there's like radio programmer, textile designer, content producer, industrial designer, artist in residence, financial advisor, surgeon. so really keep your options open when you are both looking for a school, thinking about what you're going to want to do when you graduate, because there are a lot of things that you don't even know about yet, or maybe haven't even been created yet, with how quickly technology does change. Next slide, please. So the median annual wage for artists and designers was about $46,000 in May of 2018. So I know that doesn't seem like a lot of money, but you can survive off of it. Maybe artists were not going to be millionaires, but you will have a career that is something that you enjoy doing, something that you get more out of than just, a huge paycheck. Yeah, I'm not making a ton of money, but I'm happy with what I'm doing. I get to spend my time with artists and designers, like-minded people. And again, what is it that you want to do for the rest of your life? What's really interesting, though, is that the arts added 4 times more to the US economy than the agriculture sector, and 200 billion times more than the transportation or warehousing sector, which is mind-boggling to me. How much money comes into the US economy through arts. The arts saw a $20 billion trade surplus, and that was leading with movies and TV programs as well as jewelry. So you do see some of the, what people will make in the arts. This is just a few ideas that, just to give you an idea of how much you can make in US dollars in the arts. Next slide, please. So internship opportunities it's so important to participate in whatever school you decide to go to, their internship program. We have one of the oldest and largest internship programs of any art and design school in the United States. These are just a few of the companies that we work with. We work with over 2,000 employers. We have over 500 opportunities every single semester. You'll notice some big names there: DreamWorks, Marvel, Ogilvy, Bazaar, MoMA, and I want you to really think about, when you're looking at the schools, what kind of connections do they have? Do they have connections with companies that you do want to work with? One great thing about SAIC, and I'm sure it is for other schools too, is that if there's a company that you're really excited about that we don't have a connection with, our CapEx department will actually help build that bridge so that you can work in that company as an internship. We actually require all of our students to take 2 classes off campus for credit, and that can either be in the form of internships or study abroad. And I recommend doing as many internships as you can, because that is how you build your resume, how you get your foot in the door. And a lot of the internships, that is where our students will end up getting jobs after they graduate. So one of our alumni, she works at Disney. She was the very first female art director at Disney, and she worked on Moana, which I think is super cool. We also had a student intern on Moana too. So something, we're very proud of, and our CapEx department works tirelessly to get you the internships that you really want. So definitely do the internships. Next slide, please. So I'm going to show you a few of our alumni that I think are really cool. They're doing very cool things. And these are artists and designers that are solely artists and designers. So Wu Tsang is a filmmaker, graduated in 2004, has shown films at South by Southwest, MoMA, the Guggenheim, and the 2012 Whitney Biennial in New York. Her work has been featured in the New York Times, the New Yorker, Art Forum, and Vogue. And in 2018, she was the recipient of the MacArthur Genius Grant, which awards artists $625,000 to pursue their art, which I think is just absolutely amazing. So definitely check out her work. Next slide. Next is Emil Ferris. She is both a BFA and MFA grad from SAIC. She released her first graphic novel. It's called My Favorite Thing is Monsters, and it had critical acclaim. The book entered its second printing only a month and a half after its first printing. She has been written up in, the Chicago Magazine, the New Yorker, and her book was reviewed by NPR. The New York Times documented her journey from a debilitating infection of West Nile virus that nearly took away her ability to actually draw, to the Pulitzer Prize winning artist, illustrator, and author that she is today. Comics legend Art Spiegelman even went as far as to assert that Emil Ferris is one of the most important comic artists of our time. We have a lot of graphic novelists at SAIC, and it's so cool what they're doing. Next slide. The next alumni I want to talk about is Trevor Peglin. He is doing such cool stuff. So he did graduate, a while ago, MFA of 2002, but he is a conceptual artist and geographer. Not a lot of conceptual artists are, featured or, are able to survive off of their artwork, but he's done a killer job. What he does is he makes work that, his work makes the invisible operations of military and corporate power visible to everyday citizens. So Peglin has photographed the underwater fiber optic cables that enable internet connections across the continents. And this image shows a cube made of irradiated broken glass collected inside the Fukushima exclusion zone. He has also documented classified intelligence gathering satellites that orbit our planet. You can actually see his work at the Smithsonian American Art Museum, and he was the 2017 MacArthur Genius Grant recipient as well. Next slide. The last alumni that I want to mention is Michael Allen Nesmeth. He's a 2010 graduate, and he focused his time in the visual communication design department, or graphic design. And since graduating, he has worked as an art director and illustrator, developing visuals for Facebook's 2017 rebranding. He has directed and designed social media campaigns for Old Spice, those weird commercials. And he is currently employed at Amazon, where he is the lead designer for the company's Fire TV, and is responsible for creating visuals on the homepage of the world's largest online storefront. So if you've ever been to Amazon.com, I'm sure you have absolutely seen Michael's work. So next slide. So this is the last slide, I believe, that I'm showing today, and it's about OPT opportunities in the United States. As an international student studying in the US, you are eligible for two different types of work authorizations: CPT, or curricular practical training, or OPT, or optional practical training. CPT is work authorization for the internships that I previously mentioned. So while you are a student, you would use CPT. OPT is 12 months of work authorization after completion of a student's degree program. This is granted through an application process with the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Our international student advisors offer in-person and online workshops and walk students through the application. Advisors will also look through the application for accuracy before submitting it. So that is why we actually have a 99% approval of all of our OPT. So 99% of our international students who complete the necessary steps do receive OPT, which is pretty amazing. But if you have further questions about arts programs, careers in the arts, anything, feel free to contact me. And I believe that is it on my side.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jackson. I like your PowerPoint, by the way, is so colorful. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Junnan Liao. I'm the Assistant Director of International Outreach here at American Music and Dramatic Academy in New York City and Los Angeles. First of all, thank you, Education USA, to organize everything, that put everything together. So my school, AMDA, actually represents just iceberg of the whole higher education in the United States, which is the performing arts. It's very unique. And performing arts here, we are going to talking about, it's a form of the creative performed in front of the audience. So basically, it's the drama, music, and the dance, the three major and the most important part of being a performing arts students. So I want to, before I talking about audition, I want to just give you guys more information about, for example, the degree option that is available in the United States if you are going to pursue the singing, acting, or dancing. So if you are a high school student, let's say you are going to the freshman, like an undergrad, choose a college. Usually in the United States, in the undergrad level, we offer degree in Bachelor of the Fine Arts, Bachelor of the Arts, and also the Bachelor of the Music if you choose music. The difference between the three major, because it's sometimes the BFA and the BA is more involved with the analysis and the literature review. And if you're going to study like the theater arts, you're probably gonna choose the BA rather than BFA. And another like a BM, is very, very professional and in the conservatory school like AMDA. Students, when they choose for the undergrad level, BFA, which is kind of like represents something bigger and also is practical. Most of your classes will be studying in the studio environment, that you are going to have the mentor professor who is working the professional outside of the classroom. And also in the graduate level, if you studied BFA, let's say you are going to study MFA. I want to mention one part here as an MFA candidate. If you award MFA, which is most of the fine arts, not only in the performing arts, also like BFA in painting or sculpture, like the fine arts, that's your terminal degree. There is no doctor degree in fine arts. So if you're holding an MFA, you are eligible to teach in the university settings. That's the things happening in the United States. But let's say if you award a Bachelor of the Arts in Theater Arts, but probably you're gonna go into like a MA, which is like extended to the graduate level, and then you can pursue PhD. And also there is another degree called Master of the Music. For example, in the very prestigious conservatory school in the United States, like NYU or University of the like Indiana, Bloomington, they have the good Master of the Music. But being a performing arts candidate or applicant is sometimes very intimidating, because if you apply for the arts program, like the design and arts, you have to submit the portfolio. But here, if you want to submit the application to us, like AMDA, we want audition. So that's what I want to focus today, how to nail your audition, how to prepare your audition if you're gonna choose to apply acting, singing, and dance program. So I want to use an example like the music theater. This is one of the very, very prestigious program at AMDA. Also, it's a very famous one in the United States. You know that right now, the Broadway originally is from Broadway, New York. Right now, a lot of show, like yesterday, the Hamilton, they have the live one on Disney. So everybody gonna get a chance to watch Hamilton. Usually it will cost like $100. You cannot get the tickets. By the way, Hamilton have more than 5 AMDA alumni, which is from our graduate from our school, perform on Broadway. It's very, very amazing. So when we're talking about audition, people, like I said, just feel very intimidating. That's natural. I get it, because it's, you're going to show yourself and walk out of your comfort zone and in front of your panel, in front of the adjudicator. That's why when we're talking about a preparation, you have to, just put one word in your head and in your mind all the time. Yourself. That's the most important word that you're going to tell yourself when you do the audition. Next slide, please. Okay, so next one. Here we go. So usually, if you choose for the acting program in the United States, the acting school, you usually need 2 contrasting monologue. If you're going to apply for the music theater, for example, like singing, usually we need 1 song and 1 monologue. So I'm gonna use the music theater as an example, how to choose a song first. So don't just to put words here. This is also applied to if you apply for like a vocal performance, or if you apply for the kind of like a modern singing style, as long as it's singing. So you're gonna sing a song in front of the panel. So this can help you. So when we're talking about select a song, so the first things you have to remember, that song is most secure part of your vocal range. Because as a performing arts students, your instrument is your body. Pianist, that's a key, that's keyboard. But if you are the performer, for example, you are the singer, your vocal, this chord is your instrument. So that's why you have to choose a song that can secure part of your vocal range. You don't want to change something too high, even that is a famous one. And also you have to choose a song that can reveal something about you. For example, I'm 33 years old. I can choose a song, the character that is actually in that character is 33 to 40 years old. You don't want to choose a song that is sung by a young man or old man in his like 60 years old. Even though that song is very beautiful, it's your vocal range, but I don't think you can nail that song because you cannot really understand the story behind these lyrics. So also avoiding choose some very signature song from the star performer. You know, when I travel around the world of the host audition, people always singing the song from Let It Go from the Frozen, and sing a Popular from the Wiki. I know that song is very beautiful and powerful, but you know, when you really sing that song, it's very hard for you to see something about you acting through that song, because you always try to mock up from the performer who already seen that song or heard that song for 1,000 times. Next slide, please. Monologue. Monologue is kind of the tricky because monologue is like a one-person show. You have to choose the monologue where you really want the monologue from two different timing. First one is we call it classic. Sometimes it's from like a Shakespeare, or next one is modern, the contemporary. The reason why we need two constrained monologue because we want the students to show their character, how can they manage the character from different genre. So don't have to be very long. You're a student, you know, sometimes we know the monologue can be long for 5 minutes. That's too much. If you audition for the university setting, the monologue can be as short as 1 minute. That's enough, 1 minute. But you have to remember, this monologue, we prefer the monologue from the public play rather than from the TV or the movie, because you know, movie, the monologue is different from the public play. When you perform in front of the audience in the theater setting, that's different from if you performing from the camera. But there is a common mistake that students try to avoid is try not to choose a monologue that written by themselves. Because you know, I know sometimes students you are the good writer, you are the good composer, but as a performer, thing that is from your writing, because you put a lot of the emotion, your story in that monologue as a writer, but that is not what we want to get you from the actor. That's the most mistake that students make. Try not to do that. Next one. Next. So, let's say the audition days here. So normally we accept the 3 different auditions right now. So normally we go to you know, different country and city to host the in-person auditions. But right now, due to the COVID-19, a lot of the school, not only AMDA, we translated to the virtual audition. So basically students can audition for us by choosing a specific time slot, use a Zoom or like a Google Meet to live audition. Or students can tape audition. You can, wherever you feel comfortable, record your performance and send the link or upload it. But the thing is, whenever you do the audition, you have to memorize the material. You cannot just like bring a monologue to the audition room. That is not acceptable. So we're talking about prepared. So one thing is memorized. Second thing is dressing code, because you know, sometimes if you're going for like a piano classic, the classical singer per audition, you might want to put the tuxedos. But if you audition for acting, singing, or like a music theater, you just like a regular, like whatever make you comfortable, that's fine. Don't have to like wear the costume. Try not to wear costume to the school audition. That's too much. Believe me, that's too much. I know you want to, try to in that character as soon as you can, but the costume doesn't help. Try not to use a costume. Next slide, please. Timing is very important in the theater world. When you go to the audition, on time is late. Let's say our call time is 9. Students should be, represent to your the staff member should be like 30 minutes ago. 8:30, you should be there. If after 9, there's no way for you to come into the audition room. Remember, arrive early. That's most important. Next one. Okay. So when you come into the audition site, personally, I monitor more than 200 auditions around the world for AMDA. So I know how to be a humble and a very candid auditioning. This is very important because when you walk in the audition site, offers like myself, I'll start to observe your behavior and also how you talk to your peers around you, and that's most important. So stand out as a learner and the leaders. But when we're talking about stand out as the learner or leader, it's not asking you to just like tour around, ask people who in front of you, hey, what song you are going to sing? Try not to do that because everybody, they are already in their bubble. All you have to do is take a breath and remember your lie and be calm as you can and just have fun like a regular chat. Hi, I'm Jin. I'm from New York and I'm gonna audition for music theater. That's it. You are not going to make like a lifelong friend in audition room. That is not what you're going to do. Immediately upon you enter the continue until your exit. So when you're talking about audition, you have to just enter the room and slay yourself. Slay, S-L-A-T-E. This word is very common in English language word, but not very common in other language setting. So basically, you're gonna slay yourself, which is say your name, the program you're gonna apply, and the material you're gonna perform. That's a moment to connect you with the adjudicator. And that's you have to do the slay because not of the school or the coach, they don't train students to slay themselves. Remember slay, S-L-L-A-T-E. Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, forget about the AMDA words. You can say what the adjudicator are looking for. All the students will ask me, hey, Junnan, how can I just, prepare myself so ready for the auditions? Because in their mind, they always start to sabotage themselves. What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm, forgot my line? Everything is acceptable. You are not going to audition for Hamilton. That is happened after 4 years. You are going to audition for a school. A wonderful school like AMDA, we are looking for one word, which is a potential. Different aspirant way looking for our potential. But that's why all I ask the students is to be yourself. In the United States, our admission requirement does not require you being certain type because like AMDA, we're looking for different types to fit in our program. No matter your body shape, no matter your gender identification, whatever, as long as you can perform, can speak for yourself using the monologue, using the song, using your dance piece, that's what the adjudicator are looking for. So be yourself. That's the last words I want to talk about during this section. And also before I end this section, I want to say, performing arts right now is very, very tough for all the students and also for the school like AMDA because Broadway has been shut down for a long time and it won't be open until 2021. But the theater is strong. And we will come back. Theater will come back, and the theater will come back stronger. So if you are considering to apply for next year in the United States for the theater program, acting or dancing, try to audition right now because now is the best time for you to monitor and work on your craft. That's all I want to share.
Great. Thank you both so much. That was very informative. I learned a lot myself. So we have had a few questions come in. I think we have time for maybe just one or two. So we have a question about about scholarships. So how do I apply or find scholarships in performing arts or creative arts?
Okay, so that's a good question because usually students know like STEM program in the States, they offer a lot of scholarships. School like AMDA, we still offer very, very generous scholarship. For example, we have the scholarship called a talent scholarship that is based on the student's performance through the audition. That is nothing attached. So basically you're just gonna submit your application and attended one of our audition, show your talent, and you will be automatically to contribute up to $60,000. That's a really big deal. And also AMDA offer the second layer, which is the international students grant, sometimes can up to $5,000 addition to the talent scholarship. So there's no separate applications. You have to do just to do the audition, that's it.
That's the same for fine arts. So the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, you do not have to apply for a separate scholarship. All admitted students will be reviewed for merit scholarship. However, I do recommend looking into outside scholarships now. If you are interested in outside scholarship information, I'm happy to share that information with you, and you can email me with any questions about that.
Brilliant. Thank you both so much. And we'll just fit in one more question. A student has asked, what if I can't make it to the US to audition? Do auditions always have to be in person?
Like I mentioned, so right now we can accommodate the in-person audition, but in old time, like literally in March, we flew to Sydney, like host audition in person. So we usually go to Australia two times per year. But if you cannot make it in person, you can always do the virtual audition, like I mentioned before. It's just like just Skype audition, Zoom audition. It's a live audition, one-on-one in front of the adjudicator, and do the interview afterwards. Or you can always self-tape audition, which means you can just find a studio and record the audition video. And just there's a very, very specific instruction on our website what you should do or you don't need to do. And then when you upload it to the internet, and then send us the link or send us the video. None of these three audition methods will impact the result of the audition and nor your scholarship. So that's why I encourage students, forget about the geographical reason of COVID, everything. Just work on your craft and just audition in your living room if you can.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And then just one last one for you, Jackson. What are the requirements to apply for a creative arts program? Am I required to submit a portfolio?
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, portfolio is the most important part of the application. You can submit, so for SAIC, it's pretty similar to other art and design schools, but what we're looking for are 10 to 15 works of art or up to 10 minutes of time-based work. So if you're working in performance or in film or animation or a combination of that, we want to see who you are as an artist or designer. We do not need to see a breadth portfolio. We do not need to see what you think we want to see. We just want to see what you really like to do. So if you are a sculptor, you do not need to show us a still life of a plant. You know, we just want to know who you are as an artist or designer. We do, of course, need your artist statement that will go hand in hand with your portfolio that will tell us about the portfolio. It's not your autobiography. It's just about why you're making that work, how you're making that work, what inspired you to make that work. And then, of course, we do need your transcripts and one letter of recommendation. As for test scores, we are getting rid of the ACT and SAT requirement for English speakers. If English is not your first language, we'll accept TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo, PTE, ACT, SAT. We're pretty flexible on that. So yeah, that's what we're looking for. But the portfolio is the most important. And I'm happy to give portfolio reviews virtually if you just want to email me your portfolio, or we can set up a Zoom call too.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So I think we're out of time now, but I want to let everyone know, because there were a few questions submitted, that we will have a live Q&A on Friday with the Education USA teams. So we'll answer your questions during that session. So thanks so much for tuning in to our session on arts programs in the US as part of Education USA Virtual Week. I'd like to also thank our admissions experts for sharing their expertise with us today. If you'd like to find out more on these institutions, please follow our hashtag EdUSA Virtual Week. That's us finished of day 2 programming. So coming up for the rest of the week, Wednesday, we have a session on financing your study and then a session on college sports. Thursday, we have a 2-part application series. So that will cover everything you need to know about applying to a US institution. And then Friday, we have a session on transitioning to a US campus, and then the live Q&A with Education USA representatives in Australia and New Zealand. The sessions will kick off each day at 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time and 12 p.m. New Zealand Standard Time. You can check it out in the events page of the Facebook. If you have any further questions, please get in touch with the Education Centre in your local area. Thank you all so much.